Hey, it's been a while. To keep things short, I got tattoos, I got a job, and I've just been trying to live life. Not that it super matters, because the only people who would care about that update are the people who, like, watched my channel trailer, and I think it only has, like, 3 views. But yeah, in my channel trailer I said I was going to upload consistently, and then I didn't. I was trying to do that so I didn't go crazy, and then I went a little crazy. But I'm here now, and I'm normal. I'm so normal. And now, I'm here making a video about this fun thing that the internet is fixated on right now.
And by fun, I mean really gross for, like, legal reasons.
So, first off, disclaimer, people like this, right? I didn't watch the whole Colleen Ballinger ukulele video off her channel. I only watched re-uploads and reactions. But I did watch the Addressing Everything video on her channel because I wanted it straight and uncut, none of that commentary bullshit, just so I'd have proper context for what she was saying. So unfortunately, that video does have a view from me, but I have ad blocks, so we should all be good. Second disclaimer, I used to watch Miranda sings like a little bit when I was in middle school. I couldn't really stand the whole bit because I was already pretty uncomfortable with the whole Miranda character, and I really just couldn't find the cringe funny. I followed some, like, Colleen Ballinger news, like, way back then, but I don't super remember, like, the stuff I read up on. So I was reading some articles and posts to, like, catch up on some stuff, refresh my memory, make sure I didn't say anything, like, super wrong. But disclaimer number 3, I'm lazy. I'll put links in the description to source some of the stuff I'm saying, but I didn't really put a ton of work in, I don't think. I looked up timelines and, like, articles and posts that have links to, like, other articles and screenshots and whatnot. But as far as a personal compilation of research materials goes, it's really just a few, like, news articles. But I'm not here to talk about the timeline. I'm here to kind of dissect Colleen's words and what they mean, just kind of behaviorally. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just kind of an ethics enthusiast. I'm going to try to be very intentional with my word choice because that's the kind of thing I believe in, but I'm also kind of rushing production because I know that if I don't do this thing now, then I never will, and I kind of want to say something because... So I hope that my meaning comes across even if I slip up, and I really apologize for not being more eloquent and nuanced. To start off this whole thing, Colleen says pretty much right off the bat that her team told her not to do this. Hey, what are you paying them for if you're just gonna ignore their advice? There's a reason why people with sizable followings hire PR and legal teams. As individuals, a lot of us just get naturally defensive in the face of confrontation because we don't like to feel bad. But I think, or at least I hope, that a lot of us know that humility is a very important thing to have. We need to genuinely internalize that feeling of, like, knowing our place in our social circles and in relation to, like, the strangers following us and the world itself. We should all feel a little bad about ourselves most of the time, because if we don't, the ego becomes uncontrollable. In the end, we have to keep in mind that we're just humans, and we're not exempt from consequences. I think a lot of people say those words, but they don't really mean them, because, again, people don't like to feel bad. And I get it. I don't like to feel bad either. But we owe it to ourselves and the people we love and care about to be present and accountable and responsible.
Can you tell I've watched too much of The Good Place?
So Colleen Ballinger hired some sort of legal or PR team or whatever mix of the two, and then ignored them, which shows me, an audience member, that she doesn't care. She doesn't care about the feelings of her fans or the people she's hurt. She can say that she does, but a person who cares would take a step back and try and evaluate why she's being told not to say anything and why it's a bad idea that she does. We need to be aware of ourselves and our mental states, and she clearly let her distress take the better of her and posted that video. I know not everyone thinks like this, but there's a reason why we have these kind of professionals around. People are supposed to step back and use time away from social media to genuinely self-reflect and calm down, gain some of that humility back that they might have lost in the process of garnering all that attention. But instead, people use it to go on vacations and, stay in their own heads, ignore their own problems. You know the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it confront its own reflection. Or something. Next off, let's get into why she's making this apology. Colleen Ballinger is being accused of grooming underage fans, amongst other things, but that's the main point of discussion right now. I feel like people think they know what grooming is, but they don't actually, and I feel that misinformation, if you will, has kind of assisted in Colleen's defense of not being a groomer. Grooming is defined by Oxford Languages as the action of attempting to form a relationship with a child or young person with the intention of sexually assaulting them or inducing them to commit an illegal act such as selling drugs or joining a terrorist organization. Now, I think we can all agree that Colleen had no intentions of assaulting her viewers or inducting them into a cult, except Colleen didn't rape anyone. Colleen didn't induct anyone into, QAnon bullshit. So I think a question that's on a lot of people's minds is, why does what she did still count as grooming? Grooming, in its essence, is for someone in power to interact with someone of less power in their dynamic in a way that normalizes inappropriate behavior, such as, but still not limited to, sexual acts or criminal activity. And that is what Colleen did. She self-described herself as a weird aunt at family gatherings type, and I think we've all felt uncomfortable or seen other people be uncomfortable when that family member approaches. And to her credit, Colleen did do a little cringe after she made that comparison of herself, but that's going to lead into something separate. Now you might be asking yourself, oh, I had a family member like that. Was I groomed? And you might be skeptical, or you might suddenly be very anxious. And the answer is, by definition, yes. I mean, that's what the vibe is. I'm not an authority, but I've been in plenty of environments that cultivate this kind of behavior. Of course, this kind of behavior isn't limited to just family, though. It could be someone unrelated to you, maybe an employer, maybe an older friend, or maybe a teacher, or maybe a stranger on the internet who invited you into a group chat for fans. And now you might be thinking, well, that insert person in your life didn't do anything illegal, or something along those lines. And you might be right. I mean, not every instance of unethical behavior requires legal action, but that doesn't change the fact that it made anyone feel uncomfortable or unsafe. And if you think what they did was perfectly fine, congrats, it worked! A common rhetoric online or in newer, more liberal spaces is that if you hit your kids thinking you turned out fine even though you were hit as a kid, you didn't turn out fine because you grew up thinking it was okay to hit kids. It's kind of a similar issue. You were shown by example that that behavior doesn't get punished no matter what the consequences are. And so you think it's alright to do that. Grooming, I know, is something that gets very traumatized very frequently. And so whenever people mention it, people think in the extremes. They think of the worst cases of grooming possible. Like most things, instances of grooming can be a lot more complicated and a lot more nuanced. As people, we just have to be careful of our actions and make sure to evaluate the situations we see or we're in and ensure everyone's safety. What happened to Adam McIntyre and the rest of those kids in that group was grooming, because Colleen was normalizing the kind of behavior that made them or their parents feel uncomfortable or unsafe. And hey, that behavior did in fact have a sexual element to it, and then one time at a live show she invited a kid to reach down her pants? It's not the best. But let's put a pin in the live show thing for a second. Colleen continuously invites this air of overfamiliarity into her interactions with fans, and she continues to do it kind of retroactively in her apology video. She makes the family comparison to kind of soften the blow, so when she follows it up with talking to underage fans, it doesn't seem so bad. She likens herself to a weird aunt, so you don't really see what's going on, which is actually an adult stranger talking to kids inappropriately. She says that she's been online for years and she wanted to act like she was besties with her fans, and if I remember correctly, she sent Adam underwear just as a keepsake. She also uses self-deprecating humor and other such comments to assist in this. She refers to herself as a loser at least twice and is constantly comparing this whole thing to a kind of death. And that second part is needlessly dramatic and speaks to me, personally, as a move to get the viewer to feel sorry for her. I think someone's already at manipulation station. I'm not saying that she doesn't feel attacked and upset, and that she's not feeling very distressed right now. I mean, she is, clearly. Colleen is a person with feelings, and those feelings exist, and I know there are plenty of people who are actually jumping on the bandwagon and being nasty for no reason. But that doesn't matter. Anyone trying to hop on the issue just to be toxic is part of the problem, and they're doing Adam and the others a great disservice because validating Colleen's point about the mob mentality is assisting in the kind of nasty agenda Colleen has had from the start. Now, to supplement that claim, because I know I'm starting to talk a big game, I went and I watched the Addressing Everything video, and I read through the transcript for the part where she starts talking about sending Adam underwear. She tries to justify it by saying that it was just a joke and her intentions weren't to be creepy, and she does say that she shouldn't have done it, but that's not an apology to follow up, I shouldn't have done that, with, but I didn't mean it that way. She also avoids talking about the gravity of saying what she did in those chats that she had with fans after that segment. And to reiterate, she uses that air of over-familiarity again and brings it over, calling her fans her friends and wanting to get to know them. She presents these feelings first before anything, and these words kind of set the tone for what she says next. Again, she does that, and then she glosses over what she actually did and redirects everything to oversharing, putting herself at the center of attention once again, which is something that I'm going to be talking about. All of this stuff, when it follows the rhetoric of just wanting to be friendly with fans, makes it seem not as bad. But even then, it wasn't just being friendly with fans, it was being friends with fans. How Colleen talks about her past actions is very self-centered, in the most technical sense. She's using a lot of I did this and I feel that statements, and they're pretty much the only statements present when talking about the issue. She talks about growing and changing and taking accountability, but what does that mean, really? What does taking accountability look like? She says that's something she did, but she's always dancing around of what she's being accused of. To set a baseline for what a good Colleen Ballinger apology looks like, let's look at her apology for the racist Latina girl video. In her Addressing Everything video, she says that she took the video down years ago because she found it hurtful, and she didn't want anyone else seeing it because she didn't want to hurt anyone. Her words, not mine. She then said that she was taking strides to be better, to correct her behavior, and that she was even using her platform to talk about racism, which I think is the closest we're ever going to get to her actually holding herself accountable for something. But with the grooming situation, she never takes the time to acknowledge that yes, she made other people feel uncomfortable or unsafe, and that plays into this whole situation. Instead, she focuses on how distressed she is of the accusations and her deceased reputation, like it's a person that we should care about. This is the complete opposite of the apology for that video, where she acknowledges people's feelings at least a little bit. It's the same thing every time. She didn't mean to, or she was well-intentioned. But well-meaning or not, your actions will have a net good or a net bad to them. But she doesn't want to acknowledge that she did something that really, really hurt a lot of people. Individuals that she knows who are relevant to her life, and people that she has to confront face to face. It's almost as if she thinks that this is more serious, and she's trying to balance it out with an equal amount of not talking about it. Like, the worse it gets, the more she refuses to acknowledge it. Now, I realize that there is an instance where she mentions other people's feelings in the ukulele video, but in my opinion, and this is just mine alone, saying I am sad that there are fans of mine that feel hurt, but it wasn't my intention, is not a proper acknowledgement and doesn't count. And again, she's putting the focus on her. She is the subject of the sentence. Colleen is sad. She feels hurt. She's being called names. She's being harassed. Now let's discuss, actual behaviors. Colleen was in her 30s when all this stuff was going down with the fan group chat. A lot of people were really leaning into that because a woman in her 30s would usually know better than to do all the stuff that she did and said. And absolutely, this wasn't 17 years ago when you were just being a dumb teenager or just becoming an adult. You had time to let this marinate. But the way she tries to justify and gloss over her actions shows me, the viewer, that she doesn't think. She doesn't take the time to reflect and would rather get defensive and preserve what little people think about her. I can acknowledge that people do shit all the time without thinking, no matter what age they are. I mean, if I didn't, I'd be a hypocrite. Sometimes we just do stupid things. But more people should strive to have that awareness, and Colleen is refusing to really think about what happened and internalize what she did. and that refusal is what makes this all worse. In certain instances in the video, she almost tries to remove her own agency to make her look more innocent. She claims and emphasizes that she's not responsible for what other parents do in part of the ukulele video, and sure, that's true. But Colleen is supposed to be aware of what is and isn't appropriate because she's in charge of what she does. It's her content, it's her live show, it's her interacting with fans. And also, are parents supposed to know what you're going to do? They are decidedly not your target audience. When you call a child up to the stage and do something inappropriate with them, how do you think the parent feels? You're holding them socially hostage. Do they ruin their kid's night in the live show that they paid hundreds of dollars to see? Or do they just sit back and grit their teeth and bear it and hope that you don't do anything else inappropriate? It's a lose-lose. You should know the kind of effect that you have on people, Colleen. Because in this situation, you are the center of attention. You're the person they're all looking to. It's your responsibility to act responsibly. And it kind of seems like you only want to be at the center of attention when it benefits you. Otherwise, it's everyone else's fault. Colleen also outright said that she wouldn't accept that she was 100% in the wrong for this, even though she is. You were totally in the wrong to send a teen fan underwear. You were totally in the wrong to send a teen fan underwear, to ask what their favorite sex position was, or to even jokingly ask for pictures of their ass, not to mention joking that a kid should put their hand in your pants! That right there, 100% net bad. If you're, for example, drunk driving and your decision making isn't the best, but you choose to be out on the road anyways and you hit someone and you hurt them, it's still your fault. Even if your decision making is compromised, you still put yourself in a position where you could have hurt people potentially, and you didn't have the awareness to step back and say, hey, maybe I shouldn't do this. And so when Colleen says that she didn't mean to, and that her intentions were in the right place, that she's not responsible for what other people do, it doesn't matter. Colleen, it's not that people are deciding your intentions, they're just looking at the results of your actions, and rightfully reacting the way they should, because you hurt people. You did something that wasn't good. The last segment of the ukulele video has Colleen emphasizing mistakes. She says that some people make mistakes, and hey, it doesn't make them a bad person. She even insists that sometimes good people make mistakes, and they're still good people. Can you guess who she's trying to talk about here? But the issue is, it isn't one mistake. It isn't just two, it's not just a one-off out-of-character comment that went viral on the internet. It's a pattern of unexamined behavior that people are taking issue with, and Colleen is continuing to not examine it, because it's easier for her to live in a world where people are being unfair to her instead of thinking about the consequences and other people's lives and experiences and feelings. Maybe that racism apology was easier for her to make because she didn't have to confront anyone personally. I mean, it's not like she can speak to every single member of the Latino community. But now that she has these individuals who come back to her and try to talk to her, completely accessible, she has the chance to personally make things right with these people. It's harder for her, I guess? So what now? Ask the question again. What does accountability look like? Where do we go from here? I know people say this a lot, but I think Jenna Marble set the standard for what to do when shit like this happens. At the very least, she did something pretty good, which was removing herself from the platform entirely and taking down the controversial videos. But I think what needs to happen is that Colleen needs to be just a little empathetic for what looks like it may be the first time in her life. Really step back and take down the offending apology videos. Let everyone know, hey, I'm going to be away from YouTube because I know I hurt people. And then personally apologize to the individuals that are confronting her, like Adam. And then never post again. No sidestepping, no beating around the bush, no nothing. It's a difficult decision to deplatform yourself. I know it's hard. I can't empathize with it directly, but I know that it's a struggle to have to take down your whole career. And it's never, ever going to be an easy decision, but it's a decision that needs to be made nonetheless. I think there are too many people on the internet who would benefit from deplatforming themselves. If they're not thinking about others, then at least for their own egos and their own mental health. Because, again, we need that humility. We need to feel a healthy amount of bad about ourselves to keep ourselves in check. We need to be responsible and present and accountable. And for what it's worth, Colleen, the Mind the Gap joke was funny. I bet your train sucks though. I mean, you are the conductor, right?